Today we're going to show you how to change the Defrost Thermostat Kit on your refrigerator, and it's a really easy job. All you're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, 1/4-inch nut driver, and a pair of wire strippers and crimpers. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we'll need to do is to disconnect the power. So we'll have to pull the refrigerator far enough forward that we can disconnect the cord from the receptacle. Now next we're going to open the freezer. We're going to have to remove all of the items that are in the freezer. So we'll begin with this model by lifting out the basket. And we'll set that aside. We'll also remove the 2 screws that secure the front to the rails. Just a short Phillips screw. That will allow us to lift up on the door and disengage the hooks at the back. And then we can set that somewhere safe. We can now push the rails back out of the way. And we're going to slide the upper drawer out and lift up on it, and we'll set that aside. Next, we'll remove a single screw from beneath the Icemaker, and then we're going to loosen 2 more that hold it to the side wall. And you don't need to remove those screws completely, just loosen them enough. Then we can lift up on the Icemaker, disengage that from those 2 screws. We can depress the locking tabs on the wire harness and disconnect it from the back wall. Now we'll set the Icemaker aside. Next we need to remove the holders for the side rail, so simply pull the side rail completely out. And you'll see a little locking tab towards the rear. We just need to depress that. We'll slide the rail completely out. Set that aside. And that will allow us to remove the 1/4-inch screws that hold the rail support to the side. We can set that aside. And we'll do the same on the opposite side. And we can set that one aside. Now to remove the evaporator cover, there are 4 1/4-inch X-head screws, 1 in each corner. We need to remove those. Next we need to unlatch a little locking tab in the center of that rear grill. And just push in and lift up on that. At the same time, try to pull out on that grill. And with the grill removed, you can now reach in and pull that evaporator cover forward. Get it out far enough, tilt it down, and we can disconnect the harness connector for the Icemaker. We'll need to depress that tab and push it through. Now with the harness removed, we can set that evaporator cover aside. The defrost thermostat is located in the upper rear right-hand side, and it's attached to the tubing just as the copper is about to weld to the aluminum evaporator. So it's held in place with a little spring clip. We'll pop that off and disconnect the wire harness in the corner. We can unhook the little tabs that secure that harness, and we can get it out far enough that we can cut the old one off and crimp in our new one. So with our wire strippers and cutters, we're just going to reach in and cut that. Now that we have both leads stripped back of the insulation, we'll twist the copper together and we'll slide on one of the crimp-on connectors, and with our crimpers we'll crimp that on nice and snug. Pull on both leads to make sure we've got a good tight crimp. And we'll do the same with the brown wire. Now we'll take the two brown leads. We'll do the same with them. We'll twist the copper together. We'll slide one of the crimp-on connectors over that junction. And again, make sure that we have a good tight crimp. Now we can tie those two leads together just to keep them out of the way. Use a wire tie. We'll snip off the excess. Now we'll route that wire around front of the evaporator fan motor, up in behind the cap tube, and we're going to snap that thermostat onto that tubing just beyond the copper aluminum junction. Snap it in place, and we'll reconnect the wire harness. Make sure it locks into place. And we'll tuck that brown wire into the little wire holders. And then we're ready to put the evaporator fan cover back on. Now when reinstalling the Icemaker harness, you'll note that that connector has a little tab on one corner that will only fit in one side. It has a lockout tab on the evaporator cover to prevent you from putting it in backwards. And it should go in with the white wires on the bottom. Push it through far enough that the locking tabs on the side engage. Next we'll reinstall the grill. There are a couple of hooked tabs at the very top, and then an opening for the center tab to engage as well. So we'll put it up close to the ceiling, center it up, snap that in place. Now we're ready to put the side rails back on. Slide the rails back into the tracks. Make sure it locks in place. We'll replace the one on the opposite side. And we'll slide that one in as well. Sure it locks into place. Then we're ready to put the Icemaker back in. So we begin by connecting the wire harness to the rear panel. We'll make sure that the fill tube goes securely into the fill cup. We'll lift those slotted portions on the side over the 2 1/4-inch screws. Then we'll tighten those up. And then we'll put the remaining 1/4-inch screw in the bottom. Next, we'll reassemble the drawers. We'll slide the upper drawer into the channel. Just lift up on it as you're pushing it back. Then we'll put the drawer front on. And to do that, we will pull the rails out till they're fully extended. And then we need to make sure that the 2 hooks on the end go down into those slotted openings And then the two tabs up closer will sit on the front ones. Now once it's dropped down into place, we'll reinstall the two Phillips screws. This will secure the drawer front to the rails. And then we can drop the lower basket into place. And then pull that basket forward until it locks into place. There's a detent on both sides that match up with a tab on the basket. We're ready to plug the power back in and our repair is complete.